Are you ready to test your knowledge of one of the Bible's most powerful and complex figures? Let's dive into the life of Samson, the judge known for his incredible strength and the unforgettable challenges he faced. Do you know what made Samson a hero and what ultimately led to his downfall? Get ready for an engaging quiz that will test your memory and reveal fascinating insights about Samson's story. Before we jump in, make sure to subscribe to our channel to encourage the spread of the gospel, give this video a like, and drop a comment with your score and thoughts. Let's begin. Question 1. Who was Samson's father? Was it A. Elkanah, B. Manoah, C. Jesse, or D. Amram? You've got 10 seconds. The answer is B. Manoah, from Judges 13 verse 2. The verse says, "And there was a certain man of Zorah of the family of the Danites, whose name was Manoah, and his wife was barren and bare not." Manoah was Samson's father, and though he was an ordinary man, God used his son in extraordinary ways. The lesson here is that our background doesn't limit how God can use us. It's our willingness to follow his call. Question 2. Who announced Samson's birth to his mother? Was it A. an angel of the Lord, B. Moses, C. Eli, or D. a prophet? You've got 10 seconds, think about it. The answer is A. an angel of the Lord, from Judges 13 verse 3. The verse says, "And the angel of the Lord appeared unto the woman, and said unto her, Behold, now thou art barren, and bearest not, but thou shalt conceive, and bear a son." This shows us that God had a special plan for Samson before he was even born, and it reminds us that God has a purpose for each of us from the very start of our lives. Question 3. What special vow did Samson take from birth? Was it A. the Nazirite vow, B. the vow of silence, C. the vow of a Levite, or D. the vow of the priesthood? You have 10 seconds. The answer is A. the Nazirite vow, from Judges 13 verse 5. The verse says, "For lo, thou shalt conceive, and bear a son, and no razor shall come on his head, for the child shall be a Nazirite unto God from the womb." Samson's dedication to God was symbolized by his uncut hair. This teaches us that when we dedicate ourselves to God, he empowers us for the purposes he has planned for us. Question 4. What was the source of Samson's great strength? Was it A. his diet, B. his long hair, C. his armor, or D. his training? You've got 10 seconds to answer. The answer is B. his long hair, from Judges 16 verse 17. The verse says, "That he told her all his heart, and said unto her, There hath not come a razor upon mine head, for I have been a Nazirite unto God from my mother's womb. If I be shaven, then my strength will go from me." Samson's strength was tied to his Nazirite vow, teaching us that our true strength comes from obedience to God and maintaining our commitments to him. Question 5. Who did Samson marry from the Philistines? Was it A. Delilah, B. a woman from Timnath, C. a woman from Gaza, or D. a woman from Ashdod? You've got 10 seconds. The answer is B. a woman from Timnath, from Judges 14 verse 2. The verse says, "And he came up and told his father and his mother, and said, I have seen a woman in Timnath of the daughters of the Philistines. Now therefore get her for me to wife." This decision led to many problems for Samson, showing us the importance of choosing relationships that align with God's plan for our lives. Question 6. What did Samson kill with his bare hands on the way to Timnath? Was it A, a lion, B, a bear, C, a serpent, or D, a wolf? You have 10 seconds. The answer is A, a lion, from Judges 14:6. The verse says, "And the Spirit of the Lord came mightily upon him, and he rent him as he would have rent a kid, and he had nothing in his hand." This shows us that Samson's strength was a result of God's Spirit empowering him, teaching us that God can enable us to do the impossible when we rely on his strength. Question 7. What riddle did Samson pose to the Philistines at his wedding feast? Was it A, out of the eater came forth meat, and out of the strong came forth sweetness? B, what has a head but never weeps? C, what walks on 4 legs in the morning and 2 in the afternoon? Or D, who is strong but can be defeated with a word? You've got 10 seconds. The answer is A. Out of the eater came forth meat, and out of the strong came forth sweetness, from Judges 14:14. This riddle was based on his experience with the lion and the honey from its carcass. It shows us that using our gifts for self-glory or manipulation can lead to trouble, as this riddle caused conflict between Samson and the Philistines. Question 8. Who betrayed Samson's riddle to the Philistines? Was it A, his father, B, his wife, C, his brother, or D, his friend? You've got 10 seconds, let's go. The answer is B, his wife, from Judges 14:17. The verse says, "And she wept before him the 7 days, while their feast lasted. And it came to pass on the 7th day, that he told her, because she lay sore upon him, and she told the riddle to the children of her people." This teaches us about the importance of trust and integrity in relationships, and how placing trust in the wrong people can lead to betrayal. Question 9. How did Samson retaliate against the Philistines for solving his riddle? Was it A, he burned their crops, B, he killed 30 men and took their clothes, C, he destroyed their city gates, or D, he set their animals free? You've got 10 seconds. The answer is B. He killed 30 men and took their clothes, from Judges 14:19. The verse says, "And the Spirit of the Lord came upon him, and he went down to Ashkelon, and slew 30 men of them, and took their spoil, and gave change of garments unto them which expounded the riddle." This act of vengeance teaches us that responding to wrongs with anger only escalates conflict. We should seek God's guidance for peace instead. Question 10. What did Samson use to burn the Philistines' fields? Was it A, torches, B, foxes with torches tied to their tails, C, arrows, or D, oil and fire? You have 10 seconds. The answer is B, foxes with torches tied to their tails, from Judges 15:4. The verse says, "And Samson went and caught 300 foxes, and took firebrands, and turned tail to tail, and put a firebrand in the midst between 2 tails." Samson's destructive act of revenge escalated the conflict with the Philistines, teaching us that vengeance often leads to greater harm. Instead, God calls us to seek forgiveness and leave justice to Him. Question 11. How did the Philistines seek revenge after Samson burned their fields? Was it A, they attacked Israel, B, they killed his wife and father-in-law, C. They captured Samson, or D. They stole his livestock? You've got 10 seconds. The answer is B. They killed his wife and father-in-law, from Judges 15 verse 6. The verse says, "Then the Philistines said, 'Who hath done this?' And they answered, 'Samson, the son-in-law of the Timnath, because he had taken his wife and given her to his companion.' And the Philistines came up and burnt her and her father with fire." This tragedy shows how vengeance and retaliation lead to deeper suffering, reminding us that revenge only escalates the pain. Question 12. What did Samson use to defeat 1,000 Philistines? Was it A. a sword, B. a spear, C. the jawbone of a donkey, or D. a bow and arrow? You've got 10 seconds. The answer is C. The jawbone of a donkey, from Judges 15:15. The verse says, "And he found a new jawbone of an ass, and put forth his hand, and took it, and slew 1,000 men therewith." This victory shows that God can use even the simplest tools to achieve great things, teaching us to trust in his provision, no matter how inadequate our resources may seem. Question 13. What did Samson call the place where he defeated the Philistines with the jawbone? Was it A. Ramath-lehi, B. En-hakkore, C. Timnath, or D. Zorah? You have 10 seconds. The answer is A. Ramath-lehi, from Judges 15 verse 17. The verse says, "And it came to pass, when he had made an end of speaking, that he cast away the jawbone out of his hand, and called that place Ramath-lehi." Naming this place marked a moment of triumph, reminding us to commemorate when God grants us victory, and to recognize his faithfulness. Question 14. How did God provide water for Samson after his victory with the jawbone? Was it A. a river flowed from a rock, B. water came from the ground, C. water came out of the jawbone, or D. it rained? You've got 10 seconds. The answer is C. Water came out of the jawbone, from Judges 15:19. The verse says, "But God clave an hollow place that was in the jaw, and there came water thereout, and when he had drunk, his spirit came again, and he revived." This teaches us that God cares for our needs, even after moments of victory. We can rely on his provision in times of need. Question 15. Who was Samson's second Philistine lover who ultimately betrayed him? Was it A. Ruth, B. Michal, C. Delilah, or D. Jezebel? You've got 10 seconds, let's go. The answer is C. Delilah, from Judges 16 verse 4. The verse says, "And it came to pass afterward that he loved a woman in the valley of Sorek, whose name was Delilah." Delilah's betrayal teaches us the dangers of unequally yoked relationships, and how making poor choices in who we trust can lead to personal downfall. Question 16. How many times did Delilah try to learn the secret of Samson's strength before he revealed it? Was it A1, B3, C several times, or D7? You've got 10 seconds. The answer is C, several times, from Judges 16:15-17. The verse says, "And she said unto him, How canst thou say, I love thee, when thine heart is not with me? And it came to pass, when she pressed him daily, that he told her all his heart." This teaches us the importance of guarding our hearts and staying true to our commitments to God, avoiding temptations that can lead us astray. Question 17. What did Samson say was the true source of his strength? Was it A, his muscles, B, his diet, C, his hair, or D, his prayers? You've got 10 seconds. The answer is C, his hair, from Judges 16:17. The verse says that he told her all his heart and said unto her, There hath not come a razor upon mine head, for I have been a Nazarite unto God from my mother's womb. If I be shaven, then my strength will go from me. Samson's strength was tied to his Nazarite vow, showing us the importance of staying true to the commitments we make to God. Question 18. What did the Philistines do to Samson after capturing him? Was it A, they killed him, B, they made him a king, C, they gouged out his eyes, or D, they released him? You've got 10 seconds. Choose wisely. The answer is C. They gouged out his eyes, from Judges 16:21. The verse says, But the Philistines took him and put out his eyes and brought him down to Gaza and bound him with fetters of brass, and he did grind in the prison house. Samson's blindness represents both physical and spiritual blindness, teaching us that sin and disobedience can lead to loss and captivity. But even in our lowest moments, God can still work redemption. Question 19. What happened to Samson's hair while he was in prison? Was it A, it was permanently cut, B, it started to grow back, C, it stayed the same, or D, it turned white? You've got 10 seconds. The answer is B, it started to grow back, from Judges 16:22. The verse says, Howbeit the hair of his head began to grow again after he was shaven. This symbolizes hope and restoration, showing that even after we've fallen, God's grace is always available to us if we seek Him again. Question 20. What was Samson's final request to God before his death? Was it A, to be made king, B, for his strength to return one last time, C, to be released from prison, or D, to see again? You've got 10 seconds. The answer is B, for his strength to return one last time, from Judges 16:28. The verse says, And Samson called unto the Lord, and said, O Lord God, remember me, I pray thee, and strengthen me, I pray thee, only this once. Samson's prayer shows that God is merciful, even when we have failed. It's a reminder that we can always turn back to God, and He can still use us for His purposes, even in our weakest moments. Question 21. How did Samson die? Was it A, he was killed by the Philistines, B, he died in battle, C, he collapsed the Philistine temple on himself and others, or D, he was killed by Delilah? You've got 10 seconds. The answer is C. He collapsed the Philistine temple on himself and others, from Judges 16:30. The verse says, And Samson said, Let me die with the Philistines, and he bowed himself with all his might, and the house fell upon the lords, and upon all the people that were therein. Samson's final act showed that, despite his failures, God used him in the end to achieve victory over the enemies of Israel. This reminds us that God can still use us for His glory, even when we feel we have failed. Question 22. How many Philistines did Samson kill in his death? Was it A, 100, B, 500, C, 1,000, or D, more than in his entire life? You've got 10 seconds, think carefully. The answer is D. more than in his entire life, from Judges 16:30. The verse says, "So the dead which he slew at his death were more than they which he slew in his life." Samson's life may have been filled with struggles, but in his death he accomplished more than he had during his entire lifetime, showing that God can bring about great victories, even in our weakest moments. Question 23. What was the name of the god worshipped by the Philistines that Samson's final act destroyed? Was it A. Baal, B. Asherah, C. Dagon, or D. Moloch? You have 10 seconds. The answer is C. Dagon, from Judges 16 verse 23. The verse says, "Then the lords of the Philistines gathered them together, for to offer a great sacrifice unto Dagon their god, and to rejoice. For they said, Our God hath delivered Samson our enemy into our hand." This demonstrates that God's power is greater than any false god or idol. Samson's act shows the triumph of the one true God over the Philistines' false deity. Question 24. How long did Samson judge Israel? Was it A. 10 years, B. 20 years, C. 30 years, or D. 40 years? You've got 10 seconds to decide. The answer is B. 20 years, from Judges 16:31. The verse says, "And he judged Israel 20 years." Despite Samson's many personal struggles, he was a judge over Israel for 20 years, delivering them from the oppression of the Philistines. This teaches us that God can use flawed individuals to fulfill his plans over time. And even when we struggle, we can still make a lasting impact. Question 23. What was the name of the god worshipped by the Philistines that Samson's final act destroyed? Was it A. Baal, B. Asherah, C. Dagon, or D. Moloch? You have 10 seconds. The answer is B. Zorah and Eshtaol, from Judges 16 verse 31. The verse says, "Then his brethren and all the house of his father came down, and took him, and brought him up, and buried him between Zorah and Eshtaol, in the burying place of Manoah his father." Despite his flaws, Samson was honored in death by his family, showing us that redemption and grace can come even at the end of our lives. Question 26. Who was responsible for cutting Samson's hair, leading to his loss of strength? Was it A. Delilah, B. a Philistine soldier, C. a servant of Delilah, or D. Samson himself? You've got 10 seconds. The answer is C. a servant of Delilah, from Judges 16 verse 19. The verse says, "And she made him sleep upon her knees, and she called for a man, and she caused him to shave off the 7 locks of his head." Samson's trust in Delilah led to his downfall, teaching us the importance of guarding our spiritual commitments and being cautious with whom we place our trust. Question 27. What did the Philistines do after Samson was captured and blinded? Was it A. They made him a slave, B. They made him grind grain in prison, C. They executed him, or D. They tortured him daily? You've got 10 seconds. The answer is B. They made him grind grain in prison, from Judges 16:21. The verse says, "But the Philistines took him, and put out his eyes, and brought him down to Gaza, and bound him with fetters of brass, and he did grind in the prison house." Samson, once powerful, was humiliated and reduced to slavery, reminding us of the consequences of disobedience and sin. Yet, even in this state, God's grace was not finished with Samson. Question 28. What was the name of Samson's father's hometown? Was it A. Timnath, B. Zorah, C. Gaza, or D. Jerusalem? You've got 10 seconds. Think wisely. The answer is B. Zorah, from Judges 13:2. The verse says, "And there was a certain man of Zorah, of the family of the Danites, whose name was Manoah." Zorah was Samson's birthplace, and the lesson here is about understanding our spiritual heritage and the role family and background play in shaping our character. Yet ultimately, each person is responsible for their own walk with God. Question 29. What was one of the signs that Samson's birth was special? Was it A. He was born during a battle, B. An angel visited his parents, C. He was born with supernatural strength, or D. His parents were royalty? You've got 10 seconds. The answer is B. An angel visited his parents, from Judges 13:3. The verse says, "And the angel of the Lord appeared unto the woman and said unto her, Behold, now thou art barren, and bearest not, but thou shalt conceive and bear a son." This shows that God had a special plan for Samson even before he was born, teaching us that God's purposes for us are established long before we realize them. Question 30. Why did Samson's parents initially object to his marriage to a Philistine woman? Was it A. They wanted him to marry an Israelite, B. They didn't like the woman, C. They thought she was too young, or D. They didn't believe in marriage? You've got 10 seconds. The answer is A. They wanted him to marry an Israelite, from Judges 14:3. The verse says, "Is there never a woman among the daughters of thy brethren, or among all my people, that thou goest to take a wife of the uncircumcised Philistines?" Samson's parents understood that marrying outside of God's covenant people would lead to problems, teaching us the importance of choosing relationships that honor God's plans for our lives. Question 31. What was the reason behind Samson's extraordinary strength? Was it A. His physical training, B. His Nazirite vow and the Spirit of the Lord, C. His diet, or D. His family lineage? You've got 10 seconds. Let's go. The answer is B. His Nazirite vow and the Spirit of the Lord, from Judges 14:6. The verse says, "And the Spirit of the Lord came mightily upon him, and he rent him as he would have rent a kid." Samson's strength was not from his own abilities, but came from God's Spirit because of his Nazirite vow. This teaches us that our true strength comes from God, and we must depend on Him rather than our own abilities. Question 32. What event triggered Samson to burn the Philistines' fields using foxes with torches? Was it A. His wife was given to another man, B. The Philistines attacked his family, C. He lost a battle, or D. He was insulted by the Philistines? You've got 10 seconds. Think about it. The answer is A. His wife was given to another man, from Judges 15:1-5. Samson learned that his wife had been given to his companion, which led him to burn the Philistines' fields using foxes with torches. This action shows how acting out of anger can cause further destruction. The lesson here is to avoid letting anger control us and instead choose wisdom and self-control. Question 33. Who was the first Philistine woman Samson desired to marry? Was it A. Delilah, B. a woman from Timnath, C. a woman from Gaza, or D. a woman from Ashkelon? You've got 10 seconds. The answer is B, a woman from Timnath, from Judges 14 verse 2. The verse says, "And he came up and told his father and his mother, and said, I have seen a woman in Timnath of the daughters of the Philistines. Now therefore get her for me to wife." This decision was against his parents' wishes and led to conflict with the Philistines. The lesson is to seek God's guidance in important decisions, especially relationships, as they have lasting consequences. Question 34. How did Samson escape from the city of Gaza when the Philistines tried to capture him? Was it A, he climbed over the walls, B, he killed the guards, C, he carried away the gates of the city, or D, he disguised himself? You've got 10 seconds. Choose wisely. The answer is C. He carried away the gates of the city, from Judges 16:3. The verse says, "And Samson took the doors of the gate of the city, and carried them up to the top of a hill that is before Hebron." This escape was a demonstration of God's power through Samson. It reminds us that God can provide us with deliverance, even in impossible situations when we trust in His strength. Question 35. How did Samson's parents react when they were told he would be born? Was it A, they doubted the message, B, they rejoiced and praised God, C, they feared they had seen God and would die, or D, they made an offering immediately? You've got 10 seconds. The answer is C. They feared they had seen God and would die, from Judges 13 verse 22. The verse says, "And Manoah said unto his wife, We shall surely die, because we have seen God." This shows their fear of the Lord, but also that God's presence brings purpose, not destruction. The lesson here is that while God's presence can seem overwhelming, His plans for us are for good, and His grace removes our fear. Question 36. Why did the Philistines seek to kill Samson? Was it A, he led Israel in battles against them, B, he stole from them, C, he humiliated their leaders, or D, he disobeyed their laws? You've got 10 seconds. Think carefully. The answer is A. He led Israel in battles against them, from Judges 15 verse 11. The verse says, "Knowest thou not that the Philistines are rulers over us? What is this that thou hast done unto us?" Samson's victories over the Philistines made him a threat to their control. The lesson here is about standing up against oppression, relying on God for deliverance, even in difficult battles. Question 37. Why did Samson refuse to tell Delilah the secret of his strength initially? Was it A, he didn't trust her, B, he was afraid she would use it against him, C, he knew she was a Philistine, or D, he wanted to test her loyalty? You've got 10 seconds. Let's go. The answer is B. He was afraid she would use it against him. From Judges 16, verse 6-7. The verse says, "And Samson said unto her, If they bind me with 7 green withs that were never dried, then shall I be weak." Samson did not reveal the true secret because he knew it would make him vulnerable. The lesson is about the danger of misplaced trust and the importance of guarding our spiritual commitments. Question 38. How did Samson defeat the Philistines after his eyes were gouged out? Was it A, he prayed for strength and pushed down the temple pillars, B, he broke free from his chains, C, he was helped by his family, or D, he made a deal with the Philistines? You've got 10 seconds. The answer is A. He prayed for strength and pushed down the temple pillars. From Judges 16:29-30. The verse says, "And Samson took hold of the two middle pillars, and he bowed himself with all his might, and the house fell upon the lords and upon all the people." Samson's final act showed that even after failure, God's grace can still bring victory when we repent and turn to Him. Question 39. How did Delilah betray Samson? Was it A, she sold him to the highest bidder? B, she tricked him into revealing the secret of his strength? C, she gave him poisoned food? Or D, she secretly fled with his wealth? You've got 10 seconds. The answer is B. She tricked him into revealing the secret of his strength. From Judges 16:18. The verse says, "Then the lords of the Philistines came up unto her, and brought money in their hand." Delilah betrayed Samson for money, teaching us the dangers of placing trust in those who do not have our best interests at heart. It reminds us to guard our hearts and stay true to God's will. Question 40. What did the Philistines do after capturing Samson? Was it A, they made him perform feats of strength? B, they humiliated him and displayed him in their temple? C, they forced him to become their king? Or D, they made him lead their armies? You've got 10 seconds. The answer is B. They humiliated him and displayed him in their temple. From Judges 16 verse 25. The verse says, "Call for Samson that he may make us sport," and they called for Samson out of the prison house. Samson's public humiliation shows that disobedience to God can lead to a loss of dignity. But even in defeat, God can bring about redemption, as seen in Samson's final act of faith. Question 41. What was Samson's primary mission as a judge of Israel? Was it A, to rule over Israel peacefully? B, to lead Israel in battles against the Philistines? C, to establish alliances with other nations? Or D, to teach the Israelites God's laws? You've got 10 seconds. The answer is B, to lead Israel in battles against the Philistines. From Judges 13:5. The verse says, "For the child shall be a Nazirite unto God from the womb, and he shall begin to deliver Israel out of the hand of the Philistines." Samson's mission was to deliver Israel from their enemies. This shows that our God-given purpose often involves standing against opposition, but we must remain faithful to fully accomplish it. Question 42. What was Samson's main weakness? Was it A, his pride, B, his love for Philistine women, C, his desire for wealth, or D, his inability to fight? You've got 10 seconds, let's go. The answer is B, his love for Philistine women. From Judges 16 verse 4. The verse says, "And it came to pass afterward, that he loved a woman in the valley of Sorek, whose name was Delilah." Samson's weakness for women led to his downfall. The lesson is that unchecked desires can pull us away from God's purpose. We must rely on God's strength to overcome our weaknesses. Question 43. What were the conditions of Samson's Nazirite vow? Was it A, abstain from wine, avoid touching dead bodies and not cut his hair? B, fast once a week, wear special clothing and eat only bread? C, never marry, live in isolation and eat only fruits? Or D, pray 3 times a day, give alms and build altars? You've got 10 seconds. The answer is A, abstain from wine, avoid touching dead bodies, and not cut his hair. From Judges 13:5. The Nazirite vow symbolized Samson's dedication to God. Breaking these conditions weakened his connection to God's power, teaching us the importance of keeping our commitments to God. Question 44. What did Samson do when he saw a lion attacking him on his way to Timnath? Was it A, he ran away, B, he prayed for help, C, he killed it with his bare hands, or D, he climbed a tree to escape? You've got 10 seconds. The answer is C. He killed it with his bare hands, from Judges 14:6. The verse says, "The Spirit of the Lord came mightily upon him, and he rent him as he would have rent a kid." This shows us that God's strength equips us to overcome challenges that seem impossible. Question 45. How did Samson dishonor his Nazirite vow when he found the lion's carcass? Was it A, he used the lion's skin for clothing? B, he touched the dead lion and ate honey from it? C, he offered a sacrifice on the lion? Or D, he made a riddle about the lion? You've got 10 seconds, think carefully. The answer is B. He touched the dead lion and ate honey from it, from Judges 14:9. The verse says, "He took the honey in his hands and went on eating, but he told not his father or mother he had taken the honey from the carcass of the lion." This act was a violation of his vow and shows how small compromises can weaken our spiritual commitments. Question 46. What lesson can we learn from Samson's fall from grace after revealing the secret of his strength to Delilah? Is it A, trust no one? B, guard your heart and remain faithful to God? C, avoid difficult situations? Or D, strength is more important than wisdom? You've got 10 seconds. The answer is B. Guard your heart and remain faithful to God, from Proverbs 4:23. The verse says, "Keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life." Samson's downfall came because he trusted Delilah and revealed his secret. We must be careful who we trust and guard our hearts to remain faithful to God. Question 47. How did God show mercy to Samson after his strength was taken away? Was it A, he restored Samson's strength one last time? B, he set Samson free from prison? C, he healed Samson's blindness? Or D, he gave Samson new friends? You've got 10 seconds. The answer is A. He restored Samson's strength one last time, from Judges 16:28. The verse says, "Samson called unto the Lord and said, O Lord God, remember me." And God gave him strength one last time. This teaches us that even after failure, God's mercy is available to us if we turn back to Him. Question 48. How did Samson's story end? Was it A, he became a ruler of Israel? B, he died bringing down the Philistine temple? C, he fled to a distant land? Or D, he lived in peace for the rest of his life? You've got 10 seconds. The answer is B. He died bringing down the Philistine temple, from Judges 16 verse 30. The verse says, "So the dead which he slew at his death were more than they which he slew in his life." Samson's final act of faith demonstrated that God can work through us, even in our weakest moments. Question 49. What was Samson's greatest victory? Was it A, marrying Delilah? B, defeating 1,000 Philistines with a jawbone? C, bringing down the Philistine temple? Or D, escaping from Gaza? You've got 10 seconds. The answer is C, bringing down the Philistine temple from Judges 16:30. The verse says, "So the dead which he slew at his death were more than they which he slew in his life." This act of self-sacrifice shows us that even when we fall short, God's grace can still use us for great purposes. Question 50. What can we learn from Samson's life overall? Is it A, physical strength is the most important gift? B, obedience and faithfulness to God are key to fulfilling his purpose? C, revenge is always justified? Or D, personal desires should come first? You've got 10 seconds. The answer is B. Obedience and faithfulness to God are key to fulfilling his purpose. From Ecclesiastes 12:13. The verse says, "Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man." Samson's life shows us that obedience to God is more important than natural strength or talent. Wow! Thank you so much for joining us in this Life of Samson of Bible quiz. We really appreciate your participation. How did you do? Let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear your score and what you enjoyed most. Your comments also help us to get better. Please make sure to subscribe for more engaging Bible quizzes like this. Like this video to show your support and share it with friends and family to spread the word. Don't forget to leave a comment about topics you'd love to see next. Thank you for being part of this journey. Your enthusiasm and dedication inspire us every day. See you in the next quiz.